Yeah, we keep our contracts, not just in tomatoes we do for sure, and that's been for a long time, but even on our other buyers, our corn buyers, our sunflower buyers, the buyers of our seed, the quality is there. And the quality is there without us micromanaging every inch and every second of every day on what's going on with those plants. We really honestly step back and let the soil, the microbes, and the weather grow the crop. We don't think we know any better, and it seems like the more we intervene, the more unnecessary expenses we incur, and I don't think it does us any good.
Welcome to the Real Organic Podcast. I'm Lindley Dixon, co-director of the Real Organic Project. We're a grassroots, farmer-led movement with an add-on organic food label to distinguish organic crops grown in healthy soils and organic livestock raised on well-managed pasture. You just heard from Scott Park, a real organic farmer in Meridian, California, which is about an hour northwest of Sacramento. I've had the privilege of visiting a lot of farmers for the Real Organic Project certification program, and I believe Scott to be one of the most skilled organic farmers in the country. Today, he talks about the successes and failures of his reduced tillage trials with Dave.
Well, welcome to the Real Organic Podcast, and I'm very pleased today to be talking with Scott Park. And we're out here in, what town in California are we in?
Meridian.
Meridian.
About 50 miles north of Sacramento.
Yeah. So Scott is one of the great California organic farmers that I've had the privilege of getting to know. And I first heard you at EcoFarm. You gave a great talk about your farm operation. I think it was with Rosie Burrows. You know, you guys were both speaking that day.
Right.
So just to get a little bit of background, about what scale are you? How did you get started? You know, you don't have to be every agonizing detail, but just an idea.
Okay, so yeah, I have no roots. I'm first generation. I actually ended up coming down and farming, working on a farm while I was going to college up in Oregon, and a fraternity brother got me a job down here during the summer. So it was my summer job. Then I went back to college to do graduate work in philosophy, and the manager of the farm called me and asked me if I wanted to get into growing tomatoes. And he'd give me 20% of the net, and he would provide all the peanut butter sandwiches and beer needed to make it through the year farming. That was 1974. So that's how I got into farming. I have had no real experience. Even when I was coming in the summers, I was just bucking hay, moving wheat straw, nothing tied to the farm. So that's how I started. And so anyway, I started with my partner growing tomatoes, processing tomatoes in 1974. 1980, we amiably split. He wanted to get big and use a bunch of government programs. I wanted to stay with the tomatoes, and so we went our own way. 1985, I started dawning that the chemical method of farming had no future, at least especially in my situation. Everybody was making money off of me. I was paying my bills, but we weren't getting anywhere, and I felt the ground and our costs were continuing to go up. So I happened to pick up a field that worked up beautifully, that I wasn't used to having fields do that, and it dawned on me that these people were really careful with the soil. They had light equipment, they had a rotation, they never got on it early. And so it dawned on me, the ground doesn't have to be miserable. It can be workable, and it can do you favors instead of constantly you battling it. So that's when the transition started, and all of this has been very serendipitous. I haven't known that I was going to be getting the results, but through time I started realizing, as I was taking better care of the soil, putting more biomass in the ground, finding wheat fields, putting all the straw under instead of baling, and then burning what was left after baled, is putting all the wheat straw in, and taking care, putting something in the soil instead of constantly taking it away. And then funny things started happening unplanned, that the ground was more mellow, the stand would be better, planting the seeds because the soil would be aggregated somewhat. And so it's the whole process. Then the ground would work easier, and well, wait a second, we don't have to irrigate as much. And boy, this ground's fertile, we don't have to put on. And so it all kept building on itself. And we started changing, then going more of an organic and actually skipping chemicals and mostly skipping fertilizer. By 1992, we started shifting into organic. And since then, I've transitioned in over 30 fields. We've never lost a field from lack of performance. We've lost a field because a nephew wants to be a farmer or something like that. But so basically we farm 1,500 acres on about 23 different fields, growing up to 20 different crops spread over 10 miles. So it's been interesting. The university and government have been fascinated by it because in a sense the crops I'm growing are normal crops in California. We have vegetables, fresh market, but we have all the other standard crops. We have tomatoes, processing tomatoes, we have corn, we have meat, wheat, we have rice, we have dry beans, we have vine seed, we grow a lot of cover crops. And so this mix of cover crops, crop rotation, care of the soil has relatively made us somewhat of a successful farm.
So tomatoes are processing tomatoes, and I got to go out. You showed me your harvester at work. You have two people and they're harvesting how many tomatoes a day?
They're harvesting about a ton a minute.
Yeah.
They're harvesting. Right now we'll run for about a month, harvesting about 750 tons a day, which is about 30 loads, 25 tons per load. So yeah, it's we plant over a little over a month's time, and we harvest a little over a month's time, and it's extremely coordinated with the cannery, the time of planting, the time of harvest. We shoot for harvesting close to 100% ripe, and we shoot for the highest quality that the cannery could expect to get.
So most of your neighbors up here are conventional farmers. What's the difference between your land and their land?
It's pretty significant. Especially it's good for my son, who's been working since 2006 with me on the farm. For him to go walk on a conventional piece of ground and feel the difference, the firmness, it's almost, you can see examples every day. In the fall, you drive by conventional fields and you just see dust blowing such that if you drive by in your pickup, you have to slow down. Like, we have almost no dust conditions ever. Our soil, we can go, the amount of water we're using is extremely less. Our tillage is extremely less, and it's just because of the soil. The condition of the soil is doing all our work for us. It really is solving almost every problem we have on the ranch. We definitely have not beat weeds. We are still really good weed growers. But other than that, all aspects of the farm, taking care of the soil, being respectful of it, constantly feeding it. We put 10 to 15 tons of biomass in every acre every year, closer to 10 ton when tomatoes don't have a lot of crop residue, but crop residue, compost, and cover crops. And then it's work the ground in the spring, don't compact it, treat it with respect, gently, and then we plant it, and from then it's irrigating, cultivating, and harvesting. We don't have to go spray or do anything.
So you're not spraying anything. Your results are outstanding. The quality of the food you grow, of the tomatoes, is exceptional.
Yeah, we keep our contracts, not just in tomatoes. We do for sure, and that's been for a long time. But even on our other buyers, our corn buyers, our sunflower buyers, the buyers of our seed, the quality is there, and the quality is there without us micromanaging every inch and every second of every day on what's going on with those plants. We really honestly step back and let the soil, the microbes, and the weather grow the crop. We don't think we know any better, and it seems like the more we intervene, the more unnecessary expenses we incur, and I don't think it does us any good.
So it's working what you're doing. We talked about this, but let me ask you again. What you're doing is so successful. It's getting better. The soil's getting better instead of worse. The whole business is getting better instead of worse. It's working on so many levels, not just the economic level. Why aren't all your neighbors imitating you? Why aren't they joining what you're doing?
Yeah, no, and I'm asked questions on this. Sometimes they're bold enough to actually ask, but most of the time they're afraid even to ask or to bring it up. And so I don't understand that, except for that they're in their comfort zone. And I think there's a little bit of this organic stigma that they're afraid of, but I make the case that they actually can do very well, save themselves a whole lot of expenses, and still not even be organic. Maybe they use a synthetic nitrogen, but overall, the good for their farm. One of the cases I make when I talk to a group or something is, I'm not doing this, it sounds horrible, I'm not doing this to save the earth. My operation, our practices, our farm system makes us money. If, as a side result of it, we're also helping the earth and helping the community, that's even better. But it's simply, it's smart business to develop a system of taking care of the soil and let it make your farm better every year. And every farmer should look in the mirror and ask themselves, is my ground better this year than last year? When you have the opportunity to take a natural resource and improve it, and improve all the impacts that that has by doing it, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah. So it's confusing why you wouldn't want to do that. And I think that, I mean, I really think it's an important conversation for us to understand, why is it that we as human beings sometimes don't make what seem like fairly obviously sane choices?
Yeah, but I also, it's until you experience it, maybe you don't appreciate it. And I don't think I don't blame the farmer that much, as to me, there's three legs of running your business that impacts it. And it's government, and it's academia, and it's corporations. And if every farmer, for the most part, all they're hearing is that what they're doing is okay, then there isn't a lot of impetus for them to change. And so we're fringe. The organic farmers are fringe. And why go fringe if your buyer says what you're doing is okay? The academia system is doing studies just showing how a new resistant variety or a new herbicide can help you from the resistance is developed. So they're saying, yeah, no, don't change. We're gonna outsmart it. And government programs are still encouraging you to be doing what you're doing. Yeah, there's new government programs, but for the most part, they're very much on the fringe. So a farmer doesn't hear a lot that what he's doing isn't normal and or good.
Seems like they sometimes do hear that it isn't good, and they resent it as being, I don't know, hippie propaganda or something. You went to a workshop, and the subject was how to reduce nitrogen pollution in the water and how to use less water. Was there a third thing?
No, it was reducing water usage and how to stop nitrogen from getting in the groundwater.
Yeah.
And so I'm a CCA certified crop advisor. I need to go to so many hours to keep my license. And so there's presentations given by California Department of Food and Agriculture and by the University of California. And they combine to give 2-day presentations, maybe 10 professors. So twice I've been to this, twice in that amount of time. If you said those two factors, water holding capacity and keeping nitrogen on the groundwater, my immediate thought is soil health being a sponge. Nothing leaves, you're keeping it. And just as a side note to that, I've had UC come out and watch in extremely wet years how much nitrogen leaves our farm, and it is almost zero through the winter because of the soil holding capacity. Anyway, 2 days of these classes, twice, there's never a reference to soil health. all the references are to mechanical, chemical means of manipulating the system to try and hold water and hold nitrogen. And there's no respect given to that which is naturally right there for them to do. And so the other thing that's important on this is that there's maybe 110, 150 CCAs sitting in this huge auditorium that's maybe impacting 60%, I'm just grabbing these numbers, I'm not sure, 60% of California acreage and farming. So if the PCA, CCAs are not hearing other ways of solving problems than drip systems and split applications and yada yada, then what do you expect? Why are you surprised that a farmer just keeps doing what they're doing?
Yeah. You said you gave them some feedback that they should talk about soil health.
I did. The second day I had to speak of at lunch and said that to the people running it, why haven't I heard soil health mentioned? And in the afternoon meeting, one of the professors said, okay, I heard somebody wants to hear soil health. Okay, soil health. Now I'll get on with my talk. So that's not showing a whole lot of respect for other methods of problem solving than what's the standard practice of the past.
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about, you're a curious man, and one of the things that you've had curiosity about is reduced tillage. It's a lot of talk about it now from academia, a lot of talk about it from the government, and you've been doing trials. They're probably the largest scale trials in existence on no-till, not for livestock, but for vegetables and other crops. So could you talk about what you're finding, what you're learning that's working, what isn't working?
Yeah, I can only speak on what I'm experiencing, and I'm not speaking just offhand because I've actually been trying to do no-till since 1997. Small scale, larger scale. And a lot of it's been working with the University of California at Davis, and particularly Jeff Mitchell's been a big help and somewhat of a prodder and a mentor on it. The end result is I have never seen it being positive. Most part can only say that I've seen it negative, but again, it's just my cropping pattern, what I have going on, the efficiencies that we've developed. And it's not that we don't want crop residue. Crop residue is a huge player, but we tend to deal with targeted tillage. In other words, we'll till that which only needs it. Like we'll till enough to kill weeds, okay? But we go no deeper. We'll till deep for compaction only because we do everything on sub 1 inch, only in the furrow. But as far as leaving residue and planting into it, yeah, I've really only seen negative results. It doesn't mean it can't go to positive, but from my experience, no-till, for it to work, it has to shade. And for you to build the thatch up, it's going to take more than 1 year. You might roll rye and get away with that year and you got some shading, but the idea is the Gabe Brown, the building up of the thatch. Our mix of crops, there's no chance we can build up thatch. Our way of farming, we're planting if we're planting 15 different crops, 14 of them are planted by the middle of May. If we were going to crimp roll rye, we wouldn't even start crimp rolling rye until the middle of May or into June. We wouldn't hit, the timing of farming is so critical in California and probably everywhere, but I know it is here for us. We've got to plant all our crops at the right time, and it's big bucks. It's a big difference. So I've heard people say, oh, I'm going to just grow a different crop so that I can crimp roll. Well, that's fine. But we have high value crops, and not only that, we have to perform. If I'm not performing, I got 10 farmers behind me wanting to rent my ground. And a lot of my ground is leased ground, okay? So I better be with it and I better perform. Our system is minimum till, but the no-till has actually, it's only cost us, I could say honestly, a lot of money. It doesn't mean it won't work, it just hasn't worked for us.
Right. If it is going to work, there's more to be figured out for for vegetables.
Right, yeah, and it almost always gets down to a carbon-nitrogen tie-up, or it also gets down to like in 2019, we did a no-till with tomatoes, and we had a beautiful thatch. We had a thatch that was probably 3 inches thick. 1 month or 3 weeks or so later, horrendous amount of grass had grown through that thatch. And not only that, just out of interest, it was grass I had never seen before in that field. Like, it changed whatever environment that soil and those weeds were used to, and that thatch was grown through by the grass, and it was quite a problem to remove it.
So the point of no-till is to improve the health of the soil and to reduce erosion. What do you feel in terms of the way that you are farming? Is it improving the soil? Do you have erosion? These are issues in the world.
Right. Yeah, we have actually the erosion on our farm. In fact, we've had the head of California out here in the wettest year that we had in a while, 2019. We got 36 inches of rain, and Kabir, the head of NRCS, Natural Resources and Conservation Service for the state, was looking at the edge of the field and saw there was no signs of erosion coming out, and our fields are sloped. They have a slope of a tenth and a half. And on the drain end, we still, even with 36 inches of rain, we had no water leaving our field. And as I said, in nitrogen, we have no nitrogen to speak of relative to what's normal of it leaving. So the water holding capacity is fabulous. On the no-till, the other one is you can have a problem of the land being too cool from it. So there's times when we're planting that we don't want the ground cool. We want the ground warm. And we've tried strip tilling and warming it up, and it's a little bit better. But our system is working. Our system is working in that it's friable, that we don't have erosion, our water's less, our nitrogen's less. Our tillage is less, so we're using less energy. We're using less energy irrigating, and so the hang up on no tilling, like we keep experimenting and messing with it, but I'm pretty comfortable with our system. But it's not that we're sitting flat. We have trials going. We probably have 15 different trials this year on water, fertility, different amendments, trying to figure out a better way to farm.
Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about Real Organic. You're certified with the Real Organic project. What do you think about it? Do you think USDA Organic has problems?
Yeah, I think they have huge problems, and I'm a definite supporter of the Real Organic project, because it's the essence of farming. It's the essence of using the natural forces to do what a farmer should do. And if you're totally manipulating the system for a dollar gain, but can these systems say, yeah, their ground's getting better? Is there a 10-story warehouse? No. The quality of food, like we're having right now, we just had nutrient density studies done on our squash and our tomatoes, because I think we were going to be able to make an argument that people eating naturally grown food is better for you than eating food out of a warehouse. But I don't know yet. But to me, it all makes sense. Our world, our farm, is the more we respect the balance that nature creates, and that nature's always seeking balance, and you need to give it a chance to do what it can do. It's a money saver for you. So yeah, I'm ethically, I'm totally behind the Real Organic project. There's something coming along right now of ammonium extract, which is on the fertility side. It's not on the growing side. that maybe can pass the NOP standards, USDA standards, but it's wrong. It's not just letting the system work naturally. It's technology, and technology keeps saving all the bad practices of conventional farmer, and now technology is coming in and treating or expediting farmers to farm organically without any appreciation for the tie of what you can do with the soil and natural environment.
Things are changing very, very quickly in the world, and it's hard to keep up with it. I think people barely know what's going on, the eaters, you know. Even a lot of the farmers don't know. So the eaters look to us to go, well, is this right? I don't even know what ammonium extract is. Is this right? Is this organic? You know? And I've had a number of people of goodwill, people who are earnest and really wanted to do the right thing, say, well, why wouldn't hydroponic be called organic? So I think that it's kind of on to us to try and help people understand what organic means.
Yeah, and the good that it's doing environmentally and for people's health. Like I feel really good about what we do. Can we do it better? Yeah, we're trying to do it better. We're trying to have less impact. But I think, again, the fact that you can say all our farmland gets better every year, and it's more flowing as time goes on. Like we find, the more you flow and let nature do what it can do, the better results you get, and then basically you're also farming cheaper. So the having good quality food that you feel comfortable with, I think that's really key to what the Real Organic Project is, and the health factor, and the consumers have to recognize it, and maybe even, I mean, you think of how much the government spends on health issues, and can that money be spent maybe on helping whatever keep the cost? Consumers hesitate to buy organic some because of the higher costs. But there is higher cost because sometimes there is risk, and the fields can blow up. I've had fields blow up on me. For the most part, I've done really well, but it doesn't mean things go wrong. I can yield close to conventional, not as well. Some crops I can, others I definitely can't. But the real risk is that every once in a while things do go wrong, and you can have a total loss, and you can have hundreds of thousands of dollars going down the drain. And so that's why there's got to be a premium for organic, and the consumer's got to be willing to recognize all the good that organic does for everything. Every aspect of a person's life is your environment's better, your community's better, you're not having employees sprayed with chemicals. All in all, it's positive for the person's health and the world's health.
Could you just tell me, speaking of employees, I was pretty impressed with like the pay package that you have. Could you just talk about that briefly?
Yeah, I would put our employees, what they get paid, against pretty much any farm in California. And the first thing to say is everything they're getting, they deserve. They're fabulous people. They work really hard. I would like to even pay them more. But this is it. We find something that we can do, and we don't have turnover. People don't leave our farm because they are well taken care of, and they get top dollar per hour in the area. Like our lowest paid employee is like $17 an hour. They get pension plans, okay? They get profit sharing. We supply all their gas. They get 100% health insurance. They get business, if they need loans, something's gone wrong, they got to do something to their house, they get 0% interest loans. We pay their breaks. If they've got to go to Mexico and there's some disaster that they've got to help on their family, they're getting paid while they're gone. So they're not going looking over their shoulder, God, how am I going to pay the bills when I get back? It's a symbiotic relationship with us and with them. I can almost say it's selfish in that the happier they are, the better jobs they do, and the more money that the company makes, and then we make it and we pass it on to them. And the profit sharing thing is a huge deal. Every field matters to them. They're interested. When we're harvesting, they're asking my son, Brian, who runs the farm, it's his farm now, you know, and for me, of course, for many years, how's it doing? You know, because they're tied to it.
So what I'm struck by, Scott, you're talking about the soil is getting better, the environment is getting better, the groundwater is getting better, the health of the people eating your food is getting better, the workers' lives is getting better. What would happen if all the farmers, all the conventional farmers in California farmed like you? What would happen to California?
Well, I think California, especially as much as California supplies the world, the United States with food, it would only be a plus in so many ways, and also on people's health, and on the positive attitude, and on the government not needing to come in and help people pay for their houses or their medical bills or what have you. It's just trying to develop our farm system is such that we have no qualms seeing anybody, talking to anybody, having anybody ask any questions about anything. You know, we want to be proud of what we do and how we treat our employees and how we treat the land. But it's really important that we get positive results. We're making money taking care of the land. The land is making us money. This isn't just an altruistic thing that we're doing. We're doing because we're a business and we want to profit. But it so happens that we recognize that a healthy environment and healthy soil and upbeat employees make us money. Instead of beating down the soil, mining the employees in order for you to make a buck. We try and take the exact opposite direction.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what piece is missing from the puzzle, because, you know, what I'm hearing is the world would be a much, much better place if we could take the model of your farming and replicate it. And it's a little confusing to me why it doesn't become a national priority. I mean, I know why. Because there are other people making a lot of money off the system the way it is. And they're not making money off your system. And they have a lot of influence in this world.
Right.
But it seems that as people wake up and become aware of the differences, and at the moment, the only place they can do it is to try and choose in the stores.
Right. No, you're right, to buy the product and that to encourage then other, because that's what is going to move the needle with other farmers. But it's also a bad job of passing on, as we went through the meeting that I've been going to, where soil health isn't mentioned, there's a lack of understanding of how much good the soil can do, how much money it can make you, how much inputs you can shrink and not spend money on as you're letting nature solve your problems. And until that type of thinking comes, then it's reaching for a 5-gallon can.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm about to run out of camera here. So, Scott Park, thank you very much. It was really a pleasure to visit you today.
Well, it's a pleasure having you come and see the farm.
Thank you for listening to the Real Organic Podcast. We hope that you will subscribe, tell your friends, and leave us a rating and review. A video version of this interview can be found at realorganicproject.org/episode 80. Please join us next time when our guest is Jessie Cool, pioneering farm-to-fork chef and owner of Flea Street Cafe in Palo Alto, California. She's also the author of 7 cookbooks, including Simply Organic and Breakfast in Bed. We had an important conversation, so we'll see you next week for that.